Well, understand that Boris Johnson was just a messenger. I mean, there's this narrative that's out there that Boris Johnson flew in and that he is responsible for all of this, but that narrative has been thwarted by Victoria Nuland, who at that time was a senior State Department official who had the Ukraine portfolio. And she has said, look, the United States reviewed the Istanbul communique, and we said this is unacceptable, and we dispatched Boris Johnson. The United States is to blame. We are the ultimate warlord. Donald Trump is the warlord. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, the Russians see through this, and Ukraine knows the truth. But Donald Trump's trying to create this fiction that he's trying to solve Joe Biden's war. This is Donald Trump's war. Donald Trump was the president, who sent offensive weapons to Ukraine. Donald Trump was the president who built 20 CIA bases on Ukrainian soil for the sole purpose of undermining Russia, tearing down Russia, carrying out unconventional warfare with Russia. In fact, one of these bases, which was involved in guerrilla war, unconventional warfare, was so provocative that the Biden administration had to tone it down because he said this is an act of war. Donald Trump was at war with Russia. Donald Trump's the one who sought the strategic defeat of Russia using Ukraine as a proxy. We can go on and on. Donald Trump's the one who wouldn't allow Minsk to be finalized. Donald Trump's the one who built U.S. training facilities in Western Ukraine that trained 1 battalion of Ukrainian troops every 55 days for the sole purpose of going east and killing Russians. That's Donald Trump. This is his war. He is the warlord.
Yet ironically, doesn't he also at least have something which past presidents have not had? And I'm talking about from Obama through Biden, through past Trump to now, and that is some representation in his administration of people who are anti-neocons. I'm talking about, J.D. Vance, and I'm talking about RFK, and I'm talking about Tulsi Gabbard and others at least who might at least be able to have a different opinion than the same crap we've been fed in the past. Do you give him credit for that?
I give him credit for facilitating dialogue between Russia and the United States, and I give him credit for building a team that has at least components of a machine capable of dealing responsibly and respectfully with Russia. But the same machine includes Marco Rubio, who hates Russia. The same machine includes Scott Bessent, who doesn't know anything about Russia, but hates Russia. The same machine includes Keith Kellogg, who hates Russia. The good of the Trump administration is, offset by the bad. And in the end, we're left with Donald Trump. And that's ultimately the question. What does Donald Trump want? And I don't mean to be too harsh on the American president. I gave him 100 days to prove himself. He failed. I will say this. He is ignorant as the day is long about Russia. He lies about everything. He is a narcissist who likes to pontificate and posture himself as a problem solver when his ignorance leads to the problems he's trying to solve. Donald Trump would do better to shut up, sit down, and let somebody go out and engage with the Russians with clear instructions on what Donald Trump wants to achieve. Ask yourself this. Has Donald Trump walked away from the American policy of seeking a strategic defeat of Russia? He hasn't. Donald Trump continues to supply weaponry to Ukraine, intelligence to Ukraine. Donald Trump continues to talk about sanctions against Russia. This is a man who is furthering and expanding the very policies that led to the conflict in Ukraine to begin with. So Donald Trump is the problem, not the solution at this point in time.
Well, here's what some say. They say that, in fact, what Donald Trump is doing is allowing the weapons that were passed by the Biden administration to finalize, and then when they're done with that, tranche of weapons, he is not going to allow any more to be sent. You buy that?
Wow, I tell you what, if Donald Trump ever goes to Russia, if I were Vladimir Putin, I would assemble the wives, the daughters, the sisters, the sons, the brothers of every Russian who died because of these final tranche of weapons. Donald Trump is a hypocrite if that's what he's doing, because this is a man who says, I don't want people to die. Thousands are dying. We must stop the killing. Then why are you facilitating the killing? It's one thing if Ukrainians are fighting Russians. As American president, you say, I'm not responsible for that. But when you provide Ukraine with the very tools necessary to kill Russians, then stand before the relatives of those American weapons who died from American weapons and tell them I was just doing what? He's a hypocrite. That's the problem with Donald Trump.